The lost man in America did not appear overnight. He is the result of decades of systematically undermining the masculinity that once built this country. America was shaped by well-dressed, self-respecting, confident men who took responsibility for their families, their communities, and their nation. Masculinity was not toxic. It was stabilizing. It was disciplined, and it was ordered. Modern feminism sought to dismantle all of that. It began by removing a man's wife from the home, putting her into factories and institutions under the banner of equality. What was sold as liberation was in many cases a form of selfishness, fracturing the family unit and severing the partnership that once defined marriage as a cooperative force rather than a power struggle. Then his mental health was redefined, not protected, but diminished. Masculine restraint, stoicism, and emotional control were recast as repression. Men were told to think, speak, and react more emotionally, more impulsively, less grounded in logic and consequence. The result was a generation of men encouraged to make decisions based on feeling rather than reason, often celebrated as liberated, while becoming increasingly unstable. At the same time, men were caricatured as shallow, sexual-driven, and morally simple, portrayed as beings motivated only by physical desire. This false image stripped men of dignity and reduced them to stereotypes while diminishing their capacity for leadership, discipline, and moral responsibility. Fatherhood was next. Men were taught that discipline was abuse, authority was aggression, and correction was violence. Any form of structure beyond constant affirmation was condemned. Fathers who attempted to guide their children with firmness were labeled as bullies, dangerous, or emotionally defective. Then came the erosion of his contribution. They would say, "All you do is go to work," a phrase repeated often enough to convince men that providing, sacrificing time, health, and energy was somehow insignificant. Men were told they must also assume the majority of household responsibilities or else be labeled as selfish, oppressive, and abusive. The provider became the villain. And then finally they attacked the faith. They removed faith from the family. God was replaced not with neutrality, but with ideology. Moral absolutes gave way to emotional authority. Objective standards were diminished in favor of subjective feelings. The family unit lost its spiritual anchor, and with it, its resilience. When leadership is driven solely by emotion, by softness without structure, compassion without discipline, a society weakens. It becomes susceptible to disorder, debt, external influence, and internal decay. Now, this is not an attack on women at all. It is a warning about imbalance. Strong families require strong men and strong women, each fulfilling distinct complementary roles. When masculinity is erased rather than guided, men are lost. When men get lost, families fracture. When families fracture, nations follow. Follow and share and help me make change.